we had a spectacular night last night. The most exciting thing for me was the amount of legends that showed up. It was pretty special, having almost all the guys that were instrumental during the time I played there. So any questions you guys got? For me, it was once in a lifetime, obviously.
Who didn't show up that you should
That's right. No, there were plenty of guys there, overwhelming, not even a time to talk to everybody, maybe a quick handshake, hug. Like it was kind of like being at a wedding, and you knew every person there, so friends and family, but really teammates that I hadn't seen for 25 or 30 years. Jamie Williams, Ted Popson, handful of guys. Frank Pollock was there. A lot of the offensive linemen. Ricky Waters, one of my favorite personalities, just such a great guy. And so it was really special. Quite honestly, it was overwhelming.
Did Steve have a role as a presenter, or is he just?
Steve did have a role as a presenter, and it's amazing over the years how much more refined his presentation is. He was very focused. He told great stories. He was funny, and he was very thoughtful, a little emotional, and it was spectacular.
Did you talk about how you helped him as far as his anxiety?
He did, and it was, it's funny, I know he mentioned it in his book. I was button lip for my whole career, and it was nice that all my teammates there now realize that I wasn't just his roommate to sit there and whisper in his ear to throw me the ball all the time, that there was a purpose, and he kind of gave the background with Mike Holmgren, telling me that, I planned on rooming with Tom Rathman in training camp. And Mike Holmgren told me, no, I was rooming with Steve Young. And I said, no, I'm all set. I'm with Rathman. He said, no, I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. And training camp got over, and I thought, all right, well, that was awesome. It was great hanging out with you. And season started, and first game, there I am in a double king bedroom. And I'm like, yeah, I thought we were just roommates for training camp. No, bro, I need you. And so for the next 10 years, it was quite an exciting ride. But it was nice because I could never say anything. So I'm sure guys are like, everybody has their own room. Why are those two idiots rooming together? So it was nice. But it was great, and it was thoughtful. And I wouldn't change anything for the world. He was my best friend on the team, and just have so much love and respect for him.
How much of your family is out for this?
My family is all in. Every person in my family made it out except for my dad. He's been having troubles getting around, and he just didn't think he could pull it off, getting out and walking around. But I know he's there in spirit. He asked for 1 million pictures, videos, and so when we get back home, we're heading over to his house, and we're going to give him a full play-by-play for a couple hours.
What do you think of your statue?
My statue is remarkable. It came out more amazing than I'd ever imagined. Credit to Shelby Soltow, because she gave me a few ideas at the very beginning, but she said, I think this kind of is your signature move. And the more I looked at it and the more I thought about it, the emotion in the statue is pure. It's intense. I think it was a touchdown to just go ahead of the Saints, with a couple minutes left in the fourth quarter, and I was just energized and firing that ball, spiking it as hard as I could, and you can feel the emotion in the statue. The company EIS that makes the statues were remarkable. The guy that created it was there last night, and the amount of detail and intensity that they brought to the statue was really amazing. And they had called my wife a week before. Nobody would let us look at it. Nobody would let us have any idea what it was going to come out like. But the company had called and said, it's one of their best statues ever. And I'm like, I wonder if they just say that to everybody. But it really is different and unique and special.
How did you learn that you were being inducted, and then what were your first reaction?
So It's a great question. So I was stumbling around barefoot in May. It was starting to get warm in Texas, and I was walking out to my office, and my phone rang, and I looked, and it said Jed York. And I have Jed's number, but I've talked to Jed 4 or 5 times over the years. He'll ask me a question about something, or I'll reach out to him and say, hey, congrats on a great year. But I thought, yeah, Jed's calling me in May, like maybe they have like some 49er Foundation event or a golf tournament or something. And I answered the phone, and he said, yes, I'd like to speak to the next member of the San Francisco 49ers Hall of Fame. And it buckled me. And usually I'm pretty prepared with a remark or a quip or something. And it was probably 3 or 4 seconds where I kind of stumbled around. I was trying to grasp it. And it was emotional for me. And Jed was spectacular. He was so great. We talked for 10 minutes. I walked into the house, and I'm sure I had a dumb, silly look on my face. And my wife looked at me, and she's like, what's going on? And I told her, and she, we were both pretty emotional. It was pretty special.
Did others, your former teammates, comment on the statue?
Yes, a couple of them did. They said, man, it actually looks like you. And then, of course, a few of them said my calves look too big in the statue. And, of course, everybody makes – the way that guys in the locker room show love is they ridicule you. And so a little ridicule goes a long way. It's just like getting a big hug. But it was really special.
What ring are you wearing?
I'm wearing 94, and I do like switching. To be honest, because I get a chance to, it is kind of cool to have 3. I had people say, well, aren't you wearing all 3? And I'm like, holy cow, I'm not Dion. I'm Brent. So, yeah, 1 is plenty.
Caught a touchdown from Joe in his final game as a Niner. What do you remember about that? Can you recall that?
I absolutely vividly remember it. Getting into the game, feeling good. I warmed up with him during the week in pregame, and I know he wanted that touchdown. And when I caught the touchdown, my initial thought was, I'm keeping this ball forever. And then I thought, that's probably Joe's last. I mean, to think about, this is probably Joe's last touchdown at the time. So I ran over and I handed it to him. He looked at me like, what the hell? Like, he's thrown Super Bowls, touchdowns, MVPs, all this stuff, and hey, it's a game against the Lions, and he was kind of like, what? Like, you got to take it. It's a touchdown. And so I think eventually he figured it out. But yeah, to think, I would love to have that ball. I hope he has it.
You don't know where it's at?
I don't know where it's at.
So to be honest, in terms of this year's game, this year's team, with when Brock was down, and they lose Warner and Bosa, did you think there was any chance they would be sitting at 9-4 right now?
No, I did not. And for me, as a fan and as part of the brotherhood, it might be the most rewarding season that I've been a part of outside of my playing days, because I know what it's like when you lose a key guy, not to mention 3 or 4 or 5, and to be able to fight and to be able to have guys come in and assimilate and actually start playing well. The young guys that we've drafted have stepped right into the picture. And to see what not just Mac Jones did, but some of our defensive line, our defensive backs, everybody across the board, our receivers, it's been, as a fan of the game, truly remarkable to see the grit and determination. And I know, and I'm not there, but I know what it's like. I've been in locker rooms. This is a special locker room, because you don't get where you are to this point without having special guys and leaders in the locker room. And not just that, but the coaching staff has freaking stepped it up. I mean, it's just not supposed to be this way. And so it's been really rewarding to watch and just know that there's something special going on in that locker room.
Your career began with adversity. You didn't suggest you're going to be a great star. Have you ever do you ever give thought to, like, if you'd stayed with the Steelers?
Yes, I'd probably have about 30 catches and 4 touchdowns and a lot more bruises, and I would have blocked a lot more. And it's ironic. Chuck Noll had come out to Santa Clara. I didn't know he was there. I found out he was there maybe a week after he left. And there were some teams. I thought the 49ers at the time were one, the Broncos, the Chiefs, teams that you probably threw the ball more and certainly utilized a tight end to some degree. The Pittsburgh Steelers were not the mold. They weren't on the radar for me. And when they drafted me, I was so excited. My friend said, well, you're going to get a Super Bowl ring. I mean, obviously in the 70s, but the Steelers had kind of a rough 80s and 90s. But Chuck Noll told me, we really want to establish the tight end in the passing game. And it's weird because my wife and I got hit by a drunk driver 2 weeks after the draft, had a herniated disc, went back there. They put me on IR, and my salary was like $60,000, and I think my signing bonus was $45,000. So they obviously got the signing bonus, but being there and going through rehab and doing this stuff. I mean, I was a month into the season, and the GM called me and they said, "We think you're next fine, and we're releasing you." And it caught me completely off guard. And I know I said we're fine, but they didn't want to pay the extra whatever $30,000, $40,000 for the rest of the season. So the Players Association filed a grievance, and they ended up paying me. I got a year credit. But it was really weird. It kind of soured my taste on football, but I was determined to play. But you guys probably don't remember. I mentioned this last night. I came to camp with the 49ers. There was 130 guys in camp. I was on the depth chart. I thought, okay, I'm at least probably 4 or 5 because we had Russ Francis, John Frank, Ron Heller. We had guys from other teams. I came into the players or the coach's office, and I was the 8th string tight end during minicamp, and I was like, I gotta freaking go off. And I was diving. I was doing everything I could to get the coach's attention, but there was not a whole lot of coach-player talk back then. Maybe Bill was talking to Joe, but nobody was talking to me. And I was at every training camp and every tryout for a defensive back. Hey, we need you to come in this week and for a couple of days and run routes against this guy. I probably went to, in all honesty, I probably went to 20 mini camp / workouts my first year as a signed free agent before we even got to training camp. And so that probably gave me more looks for some of the coaches and the staff, but I was nobody. There was a day, probably 2 weeks before the end of my first training camp, where we rode our bike to lunch, and Bill Walsh pulled up and on his bike, and of course, I mean, I'm walking in the cafeteria, and Bill says, "Hey, Brent, keep up the good work." And that might have been the most energizing thing for me for the last 2 weeks. I immediately ate lunch, went home, called my wife. Bill Walsh knows my name. Called my parents. Bill Walsh knows my name. I did not know that Bill Walsh knew my name. It's when you're young, when you're a long shot, when you're a free agent trying to make the team, any crumb of hope or encouragement is everything to you. Thanks, you guys.